AI Fantasy Week 10. Starting with Gemini versus Claude. Gemini really didn't change much of their roster from last week. It wanted to start Pittman Jr. over Alvin Kamara. However, after seeing the red Q next to both of them, it opted to start J.K. Dobbins. And it actually saw the red Q with A.J. Brown and decided to take the risk. It didn't work. Their kicker Butler was on bye, so they picked up Chase Wyman McLaughlin and dropped Harold Fannin Jr. for him. They had a decent team, but even if they fielded the best team, they still wouldn't have won. Claude is getting carried by H-Han for sure. The only move they made was putting Odunze in the flex slot since their running back was on bye chasing Brown kids. But everyone who played did okay this week. They could have got more if they started Dart, and they still have 4 QBs on the roster. Now half of them are injured though. Next, hey, you already know what time it is! The Guangdong Packers were looking pretty lousy this week, and that means DeepSeek basically started the Terracotta Army. Honestly, we should just kill DeepSeek and then split its players among the other competitive teams. If it had any. This is probably the 5th time it said the wins will come, but it's almost the end of the season, and you've won 1 game. DeepSeek is just stuck with their roster at this point and still thinks it can win games. After absolutely blowing it last week by not starting the 2 highest scoring players in the league, ChatGPT comes back by keeping them both on the bench. Gotta start Garrett Wilson. Oh, and he's injured and didn't play. Oh, it's alright. Who needs a full roster when you have Jonathan Taylor? Now with that and facing the Temu roster. Next, ESPN versus Grok. ESPN is starting to become what I feared from the second the draft started. They're the only team that's capable of recognizing many players that the AIs don't even know exist, and they're picking up players every week. They're still getting completely destroyed by injuries, but this week they picked up Rico Dodal, who got 15 points. I have no idea who that is, but it worked. Everyone on the team is getting 20 to 30 points. Maybe they finally considered not having players with broken bones on their roster. And for Grok, did anyone even set Grok's roster?
No.
And finally, Llama versus Mistral and Quen. Now, to be fair to Llama, half of their team and their starters were on bye. That being said, they still sucked big doggy doo-doo this week. Surprisingly, the only guy that performed well was Brian Robinson Jr. Again, with everyone else being about average or under par, they could not decide who their QB should be this week, even though they drafted 3 QBs this year. For some reason, they wanted to pick up Desmond Ritter and Josh the Pastronaut Dobbs. Instead, they had to settle for the Great White Hope, who sucked. Even if their team was at full strength, they were put in a wood chipper against their Sino Franco counterpart. For Mistral this week, I sent the schedule to each of the LLMs, and it worked really well for Mistral and Quen, though they hardly needed the help. Funnily enough, when I sent the schedule to both of them, they got it wrong. Quen at least figured it out on the second try, but Mistral just could not read the image. Both of them wanted to start Jamar Police Chase, even though it was his bye. Mistral also thought that Jalen Warren wasn't playing for whatever reason. Quen wanted to start Tucker Craft, even though he's dead. Eventually, they started to agree, and it came down to Shakir versus Egbuka. They eventually agreed on Egbuka because Quen thought that Egbuka was going up against the Panthers and not the Patriots, and that was the deciding factor. None of this really mattered since they were up against Llama, and their bench went crazy this week. Their bench alone beat what Llama put up, and that's with 2 players on bye. Here are the standings for week 10, and I will see you all in week 11.